Have you ever wanted me to run a one-shot for you and up to 4 of your friends? If not, you can skip to this time code. But if so, then I have great news for you. Right now, I am hosting a raffle to give away one free up to 5-hour-long one-shot adventure for the winner and up to 4 friends in a digital Pathfinder 2e game hosted by yours truly. Between now and July 1st, any donations made using the link in the description, my Stream Elements tip page, will be entering you into a raffle. For every $2 your donation is, you will get your name entered that many times into the raffle. $4 you get 2 entries, $20 you get 10 entries. At the end of the month, I will be recording myself with every single name on a big wheel for every single entry and spinning that wheel to show off the winner of the raffle. I'll work with the winner to set up a date, time, and VTT platform for the virtual one-shot to be played. So, if this sounds interesting to you, the link is in the description to my tip page. Every $2 donated gets you a name in. Anybody can win this. One name is all it takes if the wheel happens to land on you. You can obviously donate more if you want to increase your odds. And I thought about just doing a normal auction, but I didn't like the idea that the richest person won, so I like the raffle idea. You can throw $2 in, and you might win. You never know, and all the money goes to support me, keeping a roof over my head, and helping fund the channel going forward. As a final little caveat, every single active Known@One's patron is getting 2 free entries right into the raffle, whether you're a patron now or you become a patron in the next week before the end of this competition. You will get your name entered twice into the raffle. So if you want to support the channel, this is an amazing way to do that. Thank you so much. On to the video. So, you got the Howl of the Wild Pathfinder 2e book, you opened it up and saw all these new ancestries you can play, but one of them really stood out to you because it's something we have not seen at all in Pathfinder 2e so far. I'm talking about the Awakened Animal Ancestry. No, not just a beastkin, no, not like a catfolk, a Morin, or a Tengu. This is just an animal who can cast Disintegrate. Awakened animals are not humanoids, and in fact don't even have the humanoid trait like almost every other playable ancestry does. No, awakened animals are animals. They go through a magical process that awakens them to some higher level of sentience on par with the humanoids that sort of run the planet, as it were, but they keep their shape. And Paizo has done an amazing job of describing these awakened animals in a way that kind of makes you feel really bad for them, because they're just animals. It's not like they can or did consent to being mentally awakened. And those of you out there living in the world in 2024 know that sentience make life hard. But regardless, a lot of these awakened animals take that newfound intelligence and push their lives forward with it, sometimes becoming adventurers. And that's why we're here to talk about the mechanics of the Awakened Animal Ancestry for your Pathfinder 2e game. If you found this video helpful, please do leave a like and share it with someone you think could use it. Also, a huge shout out to everybody on the list on screen right now. These are all of the wonderful patrons on the Known@One's Patreon page. If you want to get your name on this list and support the channel, please do click the link in the description and support me over there. I greatly appreciate it. Let's get the tough thing out of the way first. The awakened animals are rare, meaning you explicitly need GM permission if you're going to play one. You can't just show up to your first Pathfinder Society game being like, hey everyone, I'm a house cat giant instinct barbarian, let's go. And just with the general idea of what this ancestry portrays, it's a good idea to talk it out with your GM, figure out how you became awakened, why you're with the party, what's going on. Just one of those ancestries that needs a little bit more explanation. And we're starting off a little complex too with the hit points. You get 6 hit points, or maybe 8, or maybe 10. Entirely dependent on the original type of animal you were. This can read incredibly confusing at first, but effectively, your character's hit points are entirely tied to the size of animal you were before your awakening. If you were a tiny house cat, you're getting 6 hit points. If you were a medium-sized tiger, you're gonna get 8 hit points. If you're a large-sized horse, you're gonna have 10 base ancestry hit points. Hopefully that all makes sense. Your speed we'll have to get to in a little bit because your heritage determines a lot for this ancestry. So let's move right on to attribute boosts. Almost couldn't say the word attribute. Constitution and Wisdom, making them very bulky, and a free boost of your choice, but with a flaw to Intelligence, which is kind of ironic with the whole Awakening thing being an increase in intelligence. I don't know how much I agree with that flaw. I feel like that implies that awakened animals are still lower in intelligence than an average humanoid, and I don't quite like that. Let me be a really smart turtle! You only speak the common language and a number of extra languages equal to your intelligence modifier. Like I said, the awakened animal does not have the humanoid trait, rather you have the awakened animal trait and the beast trait. I love that this is a player character who can have the beast trait as part of their character sheet, because there's a lot of cool, unique stuff that does, in fact, oh my god, that does affect beasts that can now affect this character that normally can't. You'll also be immune to any specifically humanoid effects because you are not a humanoid. Very cool. Awakened form basically just says, for all intents and mechanical purposes, you function like a humanoid. You can stand on two legs, you can hold two items in your two hands. That's about all awakened form means, is mechanically speaking, you function like a normal character, even if you were something like a turtle. Awakened mind is super cool, allowing you to still roughly communicate with the animals you used to be. If you're an awakened bear, you can still roll diplomacy and make requests of bears. You can even ask them questions and completely understand their responses. What's also interesting is by controlling your own mind, you can allow yourself to be affected by spells that would normally only affect animals. Though you have the beast trait, not the animal trait, you can still count yourself as an animal when you want to, when it benefits you. And I think that is really neat to give the player that kind of power and agency in their own hands. So let's get into the heritages, which are very different from other heritages, as these are almost going to be picked for you based on the kind of animal you originally were. In fact, even if you take a versatile heritage as an awakened animal, say an awakened animal changeling, well, you still pick one of these heritages, but gain no mechanical effects. The four heritages are climbing animal, flying animal, running animal, and swimming animal. So just based on the character you have designed and the original animal they were, your heritage, like I said, is basically picked for you. If you are an awakened shark, you're a swimming animal. If you're an awakened crane, you're a flying animal, etc. If you do take a versatile heritage, you are automatically set to a land speed of 20 feet, unless you are aquatic, in which case you just have a swim speed of 20 feet. Keep that in mind, if you're aquatic, you don't have a land speed. But let's go into what these exactly do, starting with the climbing animal. Climbing animals get a land speed of 20 feet, but they also get a climb speed of 20 feet. If you're new to PF2 or unaware, climb speeds are incredibly powerful because as long as what you're trying to climb is not actively treacherous or difficult, you don't need to roll athletics. Normally, technically, any character who wants to climb even a ladder needs to technically roll an athletics check. And this can apply all the way up through, rough carved in walls of a mountain. If you've got a climb speed, you can just climb it without making checks. Fantastic. You also get one physical attack of your choice of a claw, tail, bite, whatever that fits your character. Flying animals actually don't get terribly much. They have lost their ability to fly as part of their awakening. Now, there are feats to help improve this, but as it stands, flying awakened animals just don't take fall damage. They're able to slow their descent with what remains of their wings, but they cannot actively gain height. They get a 20-foot land speed and one unarmed strike of their choice. I'm going to skip over it for the other two heritages, but just so you know, here is the table of all of the different animal attacks available to awakened animals. The running animal doesn't get any special benefit, however they do get a 30-foot base land speed, which is the same speed as an elf. Most ancestries tend to end up at 25-foot base move speed, so running animal with an extra 5 is great. And finally, swimming animals actually have to pick between fully aquatic or water dwelling. I'm just going to tell you right now, if your campaign primarily takes place on land, don't pick aquatic because you don't get a land speed. If you pick the aquatic swimming animal, you can't breathe air. You can only breathe underwater, and you get a fat 30-foot swim speed, which is super quick, and you can attack underwater with no penalties. But you can't go on land, and you can't breathe on land. So unless you're in like a totally oceanic campaign, maybe dodge the aquatic water animal. Water dwelling, however, is great. You have a base land speed of 20 feet and a base swim speed of 20 feet, and you can hold your breath for up to 10 minutes. Really good balance. It allows you to do a lot underwater, not quite as much as the aquatic, but at least you can survive on land. So let's go ahead and dig our teeth, claws, talons, whatever unarmed attack you picked, into the Ancestry feats for the awakened animal, starting with awakened animal lore. This functions just like every other Ancestry lore feat. You get trained proficiency in Arcana and Nature, which are really good skill proficiencies to get from an Ancestry feat, just saying. And you get the additional lore general feat for Awakened Animal lore, which means it will automatically scale up with your character level to Expert, Master, and Legendary without needing to bump up the Awakened Animal lore skill itself. Very useful. Although very specific. How many situations will precisely need awakened animal lore? I guess as a GM, I would totally allow you to roll this if you were fighting things like werewolves and other magically infused animal-like creatures. It'd be a stretch, but I would love to see the character get use out of this lore skill. Awakened Magic is really great and simple. You get access to one primal cantrip that automatically ranks up according to your character level. Just really useful. Now, it might be easy to shrug off Awakened Magic, especially if you're not playing a character with a high charisma, because, as a reminder, all innate spells are based on your charisma for spellcasting modifier and DC, but take another look at the primal cantrips. There's a lot of them that don't require an attack roll or a saving throw, so your charisma modifier doesn't actually matter. Things like Message can go a long way, even on a character like a ranger or a fighter or something. Fascinated by Society is adorable. Your character becomes trained in the Society skill, and if they ever normal fail a recall knowledge check based on Society, they still get correct information, but they also get fake information, and you, the character, have to figure out which one's right and which one's wrong, and I love being able to give that out as a DM. It takes a lot of improvising on the DM's part, but it is a ton of fun. Land legs. If you didn't listen to me and you did pick the aquatic swimming animal heritage, well, this feat allows you to gain a 20-foot land speed and the ability to breathe on land for 10 minutes. So as long as your adventures are always shorter than 10 minutes long, you're good. Learn by watching. You specifically gain trained proficiency in either crafting, performance, or medicine, and if you ever use the follow the expert activity while exploring, then you gain an additional +2. And this applies to any skills. So your animal just loves watching and learning things from humanoids, so when you follow their lead on how to do things, you basically get to treat yourself as trained instead of just getting to add your level like normal. Do not sleep on this feat. Do not sleep on Follow the Expert as a whole. If you're struggling with things like group stealth, look into Follow the Expert. You're welcome. Natural senses. A lot of animals have additional imprecise senses that normal humanoid characters can't have, and by taking this feat, you get to pick one of the following senses, but only if your original animal form would have that. And those are dark vision, 10 feet of echolocation, low light vision, 30-foot scent, imprecise scent, 30-foot tremor sense, imprecise scent. If your base animal form would have any of those 5 senses, you can take one of them and gain them permanently. But if you are a coyote awakened animal, you can't take echolocation. In before I get nerds in my comments saying, actually, when coyotes yip and howl at night, they're actually echolocating their friends and prey. So you could do it. Echolocation, coyote. Sea legs. This is just a level 1 feat that gives you a 10-foot swim speed and 5 minutes of underwater breath. There's not even a requirement on this, except that you don't already have a swim speed. That's crazy to me. That you can just take any animal. It doesn't even matter what your original animal form is. You can be an elephant. And now you can swim and breathe underwater for 5 minutes. Just a really cool way to make a unique character, and I love the idea of an awakened animal who's like been trapped on land their whole life, but as part of their awakening, they got the ability to swim and breathe underwater. So maybe you're just like a scorpion who's never been able to go swimming before, but now you can, and that's all they want. Take flight. This is specifically for the flying animal heritage, and if you take that heritage, I do recommend taking this feat, just because it helps you see the character and be a flying character a little bit more efficiently and more satisfying in mechanical sides of things. For one action, once per round, you can fly 15 feet in any direction. Plain and simple. The downside is you do need to end somewhere. If you don't, you're just going to fall, and 15 feet is not that far. That's 3 squares, that's 2 diagonal squares. You're not going to make it that far. So you can think of this as a 10-foot high jump. If there's a 10-foot wall in front of you, you can go 10 feet up and then 5 feet to land on top of it. But if a wall is 15 feet, you're just going to go up for your 3 movements and then start falling again. You might be able to grab the ledge if your GM's nice, but you basically don't have a whole lot of freedom on where to land with this. But it's still very cool that this gives you effectively a reliable 15-foot jump without having to roll athletics. Tooth and Claw. Really simple. You get a second unarmed attack from the animal table. Just neat if you want another type of damage. Maybe you're a monk and you want access to slashing and piercing, and then maybe you have a stance that gives you bludgeoning. It'd be a really cool way to give yourself a lot of damage types. And finally, you're so cute! A level 1 feat that gives you trained in the performance skill and the impressive performance skill feat. On top of that, if you're ever performing specifically for humanoids, because you're an animal putting on a show, you get a +1 to that performance check. I love that there's no size restriction on this either, so even though you could be like a large elephant, I mean, elephants are adorable, what am I saying? They're so cute. Look at this elephant. Isn't that a cute elephant? Fierce Grasp, our first level 5 Ancestry feat, is only for the climbing animal, and it's okay. By spending an action, you inflict a -2 penalty to a target's next escape check that you already have grabbed or restrained. So you need to already get them grabbed before using this, and then for an extra action, it reduces their next escape penalty. Not even all of their escape checks, just their next one. I guess you also get +1 to armor class against that target, but that's all this does. In a case where maybe you have already grabbed and moved that turn, you don't want to just waste an attack at a -5 penalty, I guess this could be decent for the armor class bump and to hopefully keep them in place the entire round, but overall, there are better ways to use an action, but it's not useless. So it's fun, it's thematic. If you like the idea of like a monkey that just wraps around people and holds them in place, you could do worse. Late Awakener. This is only for awakened animals who took a versatile heritage, such as Nephilim, and this allows you to get all of the mechanical benefits of your original heritage, alongside qualifying for feats for your heritage. If you took the climbing animal heritage at level 1, but you took a versatile heritage of Nephilim, then you wouldn't qualify for Fierce Grasp. You would need to take Late Awakener first, and then Late Grasp later. It's okay, that's a lot of hoops to jump through just to get access to a few different things, but if you are something like a climbing animal, then you can look at Late Awakener as just gain a climb speed. It's not terrible. Natural Ambassador. This is basically permanent speak with animals, and on top of that, you get a +1 to all diplomacy checks with animals, +2 if they're the same kind of animal as you. This is just fantastic. If you need someone who can just talk to all animals without having to cast Speak with Animals every day, this is your guy. This is your charisma, face, bard, awakened animal who's just going to talk to every wild animal you find and slow the campaign down while the GM has to think of names for every single squirrel and pigeon in the city. And I love it. Scurry, a feat specifically for tiny-sized awakened animals. Your house cats, your rats, your little munchkins. When you roll initiative as a free action, you can take a full stride movement in any direction, with the caveat that you do need to end behind cover between you and an enemy. If there's no reachable cover within your move speed, then unfortunately you cannot use this free action. What is cool though is if you have a burrow, climb, fly, swim speed, whatever, you can do that instead of a normal stride. Strong of Wing makes Take Flight a lot more useful. Granted, you need to spend your level 1 and level 5 Ancestry feat on these 2 feats specifically, and being a flying awakened animal heritage, but if you do that, when you take flight each round, you can now fly 25 feet instead of 15, making this much more useful. Urban Jungle. You need to be an expert proficiency in either society or survival and take the Fascinated by Society level 1 feat, but if you do, then you can take Urban Jungle, which allows you to track in cities at your full movement speed rather than half like a normal character. Additionally, whenever you track, you can now choose to use Society or Survival, meaning you really only need to focus on one of these 2 skills, which is just great for saving proficiency bumps. Granted, you can only do this in an urban area. You can't use Society to track something in the wilderness. Wild Stride is very cool. For 2 actions, you stride twice. If you have 1 free hand, you use it to move a little bit faster. If you have 2 free hands, you basically drop to all 4s and move at your max speed. For 2 actions, if you have 1 free hand, you get a 5-foot bonus to the movement speed of both strides. If both hands are empty, then both strides get a 10-foot movement speed. If you're a running animal and you use this with 2 empty hands, you can move 80 feet in 2 actions. Fantastic. And keep in mind, these are circumstance bonuses, meaning they stack with status bonuses like the Swashbuckler's Panache. Go fast, bestie. Level 9 is actually a little bit of a letdown with only 2 very hyper-specific options. The first one is only for awakened animals that took awakened magic at level 1, and this allows them to summon animal once per day as a primal spell heightened to half their level as rank. Animal Summoner's decent, you know? Being able to summon animal as a fighter or a ranger or something, that's not bad. And Full Flight if you are a flying heritage awakened animal who took the level 1 feat and the level 5 feat. Finally, by taking this level 9 feat, you have a permanent 25-foot fly speed. It makes sense that it's so locked behind all these feats, but it also sucks that if you want to be an awakened animal who can fly, then your heritage and first 3 ancestry feats are all chosen for you. Y'all know I do not like feat trees. I know most of you do not like feat trees either, so this is a little bit unfortunate if you really want to get that. But I also don't have a better answer for it because flight is super strong, especially by level 9. While I was complaining that level 9 doesn't have a lot of options, this does give versatile heritage awakened animals a chance to take that late awakener level 5 feat and then something else that applies to their heritage. So it sucks that there's not a lot of options, but it gives you that sort of catch-up chance to either take something extra as a base awakened animal or take a feat that you qualify for as a versatile heritage awakened animal. Boy, I hope this is easy to follow because I'm not understanding a word I'm saying. At level 13, while it has the uncommon trait, you can take Awaken Others, allowing you to use the Awaken Animal Ritual. It's an okay feat. It cuts the cost of the ritual in half because you can apply your own awakened nature to it, and you cannot critically fail this ritual. You can only normal fail. So it's cool. If you're an awakened animal who wants to see more animals be given that chance at sentient, I think this is a great role-playing opportunity feat, but otherwise I don't think it's that useful. Digger at level 13 just gives you a 15-foot burrow speed. You can only take this if you're a climbing animal or a running animal, but a 15-foot burrow speed is incredibly strong. Keep in mind that you can just dive through soft earth like it's nothing for as long as you can hold your breath. 15 feet may not sound like a lot, but imagine a combat where you're just standing on an equal plane, and all of a sudden you can just dive 40 feet underground for a round or two, while your opponent has no way of following you. Burrowing is insanely strong. Sharpened Senses. Once per round, you can seek as a free action. That doesn't sound like a lot, and you might be wondering why that's level 13. Seeking is incredibly powerful, and people do not use it enough. I might have to make a whole video on seeking and how it interacts with hidden and undetected and such like that, because it's important. If a creature turns invisible, you can use the seek action to narrow down where it is, especially if you have an imprecise sense like smell. In fact, if you got any bonus senses from the natural senses level 1 feat, then you get +2 to the seek check using that sense. This is a great feat. You can just hone in on anything around you for a free action every round. Nuts. Awakened Stride. This upgrades Wild Stride by allowing you to spend 3 actions instead of 2 to stride 3 times, all with that bonus movement speed based on your free hands, and while striding you are concealed. So while this does not prevent reactive strikes and different reactions from taking advantage of your movement, you do become concealed, meaning they have a flat 20% chance to just miss you. Really, really good. Fearsome Form is fantastic to put on yourself, especially if you are a frontline tank. This allows you to cast Mask of Terror, but you can only target yourself. But after casting this, for 1 minute, anytime a creature takes a hostile action against you, they make a saving throw to become frightened. If they critically fail, they become frightened and lose the action they were doing against you. Regardless of the result, they are immune to it for their next turn, but on the following turn, they're no longer immune and it triggers again. This is a fantastic way to get opponents to either lose actions or at the very least take some pretty heavy penalties to their rolls against you. fantastic spell. Getting this on something that's not a spellcaster is amazing. And finally, True Senses. For 2 actions, once per day, you can give yourself True Sight for 10 minutes. Straight up. See through all illusions, see through magical effects, just True Sight for 10 minutes. Now, keep in mind, True Sight is not automatic. You do still need to roll a counteract check that the GM will do for you against any potentially illusory or magical effects around you, but the fact that you can do this without a spell slot for 10 minutes, it's still really good. I think Mask of Terror is a lot stronger, but True Sight does work wonders sometimes. And there you have it, the Awakened Animal Ancestry for Pathfinder 2e. The feats, while occasionally a little constricting, especially for flying animals, are super flavorful. I think there's a lot of room for expansion, whether through new official content, or maybe you can work up your own homebrew for Awakened Animals too. You can start specifying it to certain types of animals, like canines, or felines, or ursines, or whatever. There's a lot of room for unique ancestry feats for Awakened Animals, and I can't wait to see what's to come next. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I want to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons, and remember, if you join the Patreon or donate $2 or more using the link in the description, you will get entered into the raffle to win a one-shot adventure run by me for you and up to 4 friends. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, no nat ones.